My name is Idris Rashid. I like to think of myself as a futurist, a visionary, and optimist. I follow the best people in their respective fields to bring you the best and most fact-supported content. I launched the Positively Living podcast, as I like to call it, this mini podcast, because I strongly believe that one of the best ways to cope with life's events is by living a life of positive thoughts, words, and actions. However, not many of us know how to dive into living positively, especially in the face of so many constantly negative events. This podcast is designed to train you how to begin doing just that. Hi, welcome to the Positive Living Podcast. How are you guys doing this week? Hope you caught that first episode, or the pilot episode of Loving Yourself. It's very important that, we learn how to live a life of happiness. And one of the first ways is by loving ourselves more. Now, I must warn you that I've never done anything like this before, so I'm literally making this up as we go. So please bear with me as I help you grow each week. These days we're so bombarded with so much negative content. It's almost impossible to go a whole day without some form of negativity thrown in our face. From the people that we see every day, to the media, to even our own devices, there's so much negativity going around. And this seeps into our daily acts. Whenever we make the tiniest mistake, or a major one, it seems that we're constantly judged by others, and even worse, ourselves. How do we overcome this? How do we lift ourselves up when we're constantly held down? Well, that's the very reason why I decided to form this podcast. What happened was back in 2020, I decided to start my own business, helping others learn about finances. I started part-time because I wasn't sure if it was really for me. In 2023, I left my corporate job to focus on my business full-time. I immediately felt the flow of positive thoughts and gratitude. I was so overwhelmed that I began thinking, this is something everyone should experience. You see, I was so unhappy with my work life, even though I was making more than I had before. From dealing with unhappy clients to being hovered over by my managers, I was left feeling drained and uninspired. And even the people around me were experiencing my frustrations. So what did I do? Well, I began feeling that one of the ways of experiencing true joy in this life is by helping others achieve. So today we're going to get into, or actually before we get into today, let's recap a little bit from the pilot episode there. How many of you guys caught that? How many of us started taking action this past week towards loving ourselves more and helping other people? Well, some of the things that came to mind as I was reviewing was letting go of past mistakes, releasing. What happened, and it's okay. It's in the past now. It's not really here for us to dwell on anymore. So what's the point of doing it? You can't change what's already happened. Taking care of your brain. What kind of brain food did we have this past week? I know for me, one of the things that I started doing was I started eating more greens, like spinach and kale, and making it part of my diet, because I wanted to feed my brain and make new brain cells that are made out of good foods. I was starting to journal. Have we started that journal yet? I know it's hard to get started, but once you get into it and get going, it's kind of hard to stop. It's important to have a journal because it's important to put those positive words or affirmations down on paper, because you're actually writing out and going into what we're talking about today. They say that whenever you're journaling and you're writing down all of your thoughts and anxiousness, I guess you would call it, you're getting out of your head and putting it down on paper. Some people even take that piece of paper with all the negative stuff down, write down everything negative that they're thinking at the time or feeling, and then they ball up and throw it away. It's gone. Release. Do something for yourself. How many of us did something for ourselves this past week? Maybe went and saw a movie by yourself, or went out to dinner, or watched your favorite show. Did you do anything this past week that was just for you? What was it? I'd love to hear about it. So today, what we're going to do is that in this episode, we're going to talk about the 5 steps toward manifesting the life that you desire. Now, what is manifesting? I looked and got a textbook version of it, and the only thing I came back with is manifesting is visualizing something that you want to have happen in the future to make it come to pass. And it was really good, but that was just kind of part of it. What we don't realize is that we're manifesting every day, all day, whether we realize it or not. So it depends on what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're saying is depends on what we're manifesting. Are we manifesting good events and good thoughts or with good thoughts? Or are we manifesting the same dreariness that we've been experiencing? The choice is yours. So what are the 5 steps into having the ideal life that you want and manifesting? Well, let me share my screen. We'll dive into it. All right. Step number 1, decide what you want in detail. Dream big. When we're kids, it's easier to daydream all day and daydream about what we want. But somewhere along the way, we lose that ability. Actually, we don't lose the ability to daydream or to dream big as much as we give up on dreaming. And that's so tragic. Think of what we're missing out on. So stop thinking small, like getting bills paid, and making it to the end of the day or the week, or even getting your kids to eat their vegetables. Yeah, some of those are important, but the thing is that those are very limited. They're very small. Again, dream big. Program into your mind exactly what you want. Think of the big things and explain it in detail so the universe will hear what you want and start putting the people, circumstances, and events in your way to start achieving them. Tell your mind what you want. Tell it what you're looking for and look for evidence of it happening. I know one of the things I do in the mornings, part of my morning routine, is I get up and meditate. And I know a lot of people can't really get into meditating for every reason because of the whole breathing part or the quieting your mind. But what I do is it allows me to go in and set up my day and set up my day properly because I'm visualizing, I'm manifesting exactly how I want my day to go. And I'm journaling exactly what I want to have happen. And you'll be surprised at what actually comes out or comes to pass once you do that. I look for evidence. I say those positive affirmations. The first thing I say is today is a great day. I expect great things to happen today. I will see evidence of greatness throughout the day. And it sets up my day for where I want it. And then I have to confess that when I first started the idea for this podcast, I really played down my intentions for it. I wanted to just put something out there for people to see and hear every week and help combat that negativity that they're experiencing, especially within themselves. But I'm declaring today that this podcast is going to be the best podcast for helping people live a more happy life. And we're going to be in multiple countries within the next 5 years. So hope you join me. When we're manifesting, you're telling your mind what to look for. Look for something specific. Begin by writing in your journal, like we just learned from last week, exactly what you want in detail. You can write the same things over and over because it's truly important to you. That's what you really want. Or you can integrate new things. New things are going to come along as some things are already come to pass. So don't get stuck in where you are at the moment and where you can't see yourself going. Like I said, part of my morning routine is journaling. I write down my 2025 goals on exactly what I want so I can get to work to making it happen. So what are some of the things that you can do? What's some of the things you can do to dream big and tell your mind what you want? Number 2, visualize step by step by step the actions necessary that you normally do not want to do. Wow, what does that mean? Well, a good example of that is, let's say that you wanted to climb that mountain. You really want to go on a hike. You really want to get to the top of that mountain and back down. And you're kind of worried about it. You weren't sure if you can pull it off. Well, go with step 2, visualizing. Visualizing yourself driving up to that mountain. Visualize yourself getting out of the car. Visualize yourself taking that first step towards getting to the top of that mountain. What we do is that, especially when we're manifesting or when we're visualizing, is that we kind of do it wrong because we're visualizing the end goal, those last 5 steps to get to the top of that mountain, or getting past that finish line, or get into that school that we wanted, get in that job that we wanted. What we need to do more appropriately, what we need to do is start visualizing the tedious little steps that you got to do to make that happen. Visualize yourself getting up out of bed on your day off, when it may be the only day you have off that week, because you made a commitment to yourself that you were going to hike that mountain. Visualize yourself putting your shoes on and the rest of your clothes, getting ready to get out the door. Visualize yourself driving to wherever it is. Is it close to home, or maybe it's a little further away? Whatever you have to do to get there, visualize yourself doing it. Now, it's kind of hard at first to visualize because of the fact that, one of the ways that I visualize, I should say, is by using a vision board. And I learned that when we're making our vision board, we're putting the things on it that we want, because we want to manifest it, we want it to come to pass. But what we're doing is we're always putting that end result. We're always putting that mountaintop, or that check that we want, or the job that we want. But what we should do on our vision boards, in fact, I'm in the process of redoing mine after running this, is putting on there the individual little steps that we're talking about. Like for me, forming this podcast, it was something that came about maybe a year and a half of really thinking and getting into it and digging into it. I really had to watch a lot of podcasts to figure out exactly, well, first, how they go and how they flow. But secondly, I need to figure out, what do I do? How do I make this happen? How do I make it come fast? And what I realized was that it was the detailed little steps, exactly how you want to structure the podcast. Like, what do you want to talk about each week? And doing the research behind it to back it up. And I had to visualize myself, being out here, doing that first one. Visualize myself having everything go wrong, because we all know when it comes to recording, there is no perfect take from beginning to end. You usually have to stop a few times in between. So another thing too is when I told you I started my finance business back in 2023, and it's now developed into finance with leadership development. I help other people become entrepreneurs. I help them learn the skills that they need to make their business, how their business be successful. And I had to visualize exactly how I wanted that to go as well. I had to visualize myself talking to people, talking to rooms full of people. I had to visualize looking into where they are right now at that point, and to see where they're trying to go, and to help them visualize themselves getting there as well. Some of the hardest part of visualization, is getting us to do it, but then also getting other people to do it as well. What to do. So like I said, the mistake that people make is imagining reaching the top of that mountain or that end goal, but you got to visualize yourself doing the individual steps. You got to visualize the hard stuff, the stuff that we don't want to do. Seeing that, for one thing, let's say that we wanted to, manifest having a better bank account and saving more. Well, what you got to do, visualize the hard stuff. You got to visualize yourself seeing things online that you want, that you wanted to buy, and choosing not to buy it. Then you see 2 to 3 other things that you want to see online, but you're choosing not to buy it. You're visualizing seeing yourself at home, working on a project, instead of going out with your friends on the weekend, spending money that you probably should be saving. They say that Olympic athletes, they hire these psychologists to come in to help them visualize, as they're preparing, for the Olympics. And what they visualize them doing is making it through, no matter what, all the way from beginning to end, particularly when they have an injury of some sort. What does that do? Well, that's training the mind to go through the process of what happens when this happens. If I pull a muscle in my left leg, if I get a shin splint, if I stub my toe on something, how do I stay in the race and keep going? They visualize themselves going through that process, and they visualize themselves getting to the end. Now, the third step, you got to feel what you're visualizing. And I have to admit that that's one of the hardest ones for me, because of the fact that, feeling it. It's kind of hard to feel it when you can't really see it in front of you at the time. And one of my mentors, he said that when we're visualizing and when we're manifesting what we're realizing, it's not really so much the desires that we want. What we really want is that we don't really want that fancy house or the sports cars or the service that picks up after us. What we really want is that feeling that of having those things. How does it feel to have someone come in and clean up your room for you, make up your bed, so when you come back, it's just ready to go? How does it feel to have that house that you desire to have and live in? I know for me, I'm a big tech person, so I love having techie stuff all around. Pretty much deal with Alexa a lot. I have her turn the lights on and off. But what if I can go a step further? What if I can walk into a room and have the lights automatically come on? What if I can walk up to the coffee maker and automatically have it going? You got to feel what it's like and feel what it would feel like to have that. And what it does is, when it feels like we're having those things for ourselves, it really feels like we're manifesting what we want. So dive into that feeling of what it feels like. There was a study at UCLA that explained that visualizing works because you're activating that part of the brain that activates when you're doing the actual thing. And I found that very interesting because I also heard something that even when it comes to exercise, you can visualize yourself going to the gym. You can visualize yourself going through the workouts, doing the treadmill, doing the weights, doing the stretching. And to your mind, it's as if it actually happened. Now, I'm not going to say visualizing going to the gym is going to give you that six pack or make you lose those few pounds that you're doing. But to the mind, it's taking action on it. You got to really visualize what you want. You got to see it in action. I'm a musician, classical musicians, and when we're working on different pieces, one of the things that my professor got us to do was he called it a Merry Tale. And the idea is that the music is a story. It's a story that you want to tell. So how are you telling the story? What is the story about? What is in it? Because we have to be able to visualize that in order to convey it to our audience. Now, maybe there's a loud section that's really fast. Maybe there's a slow section that's kind of sad. And sometimes when we're making up these stories for the pieces that we're playing, we really got to get into character with it. The performing music is just like acting. You got to get into the part to really pull off what you're doing. Just like a painter has to paint and really feel what they're painting. So visualize what you and feel what you're visualizing in order so you can manifest it and get it to come to pass. What's the next one? Well, you got to take massive action towards the things you're visualizing. And what does that mean? We think of massive actions, this big, great thing that we do, or the things that we do towards something that we're going for. When in reality, massive action just means doing or making the decision to do little things each day. What are some of the things that you can do each day to get towards that visualization? We're not really jumping over canyons, as you can see here. But what are some of the things that we can do? Maybe we can walk up to the canyon, look at the crevice, see how far it is to the other side before we try to make that jump across. So do the work that you're visualizing. I just say to myself, stop thinking about it and just do it. Now, this came into play when I was in grad school because I had a very, very ridiculously strict schedule. I was already in a very intensive performance program. And let me give you a background about my school, the University of North Carolina School of the Arts. It was a very performance-heavy school. We had over 300 performances a year. And one of my professors actually said that if you took all the performances in the year, or at least in the semester, and you averaged or evened it out, that there's 3 to 4 performances every day, 7 days a week for the whole semester. That's kind of how intense it was. And I was in a very intense studio. I have a very strict professor as well. So he was really hard on us and he really pushed us to reach our full potential. So I really had to visualize and I really had to feel myself getting through this program because of the fact that if I stopped for 1 second to think about what I'm doing, I would sink. I added up all the hours between the commuting to class back and forth, the constant, going to class, doing homework, the hours and hours and hours of practicing. for different ensembles, all different music. Plus, on top of that, I worked full-time night shift, 12 hours, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. So I really had to visualize myself getting through this because it was hard. I'm not gonna lie, it was tough. I was going about 90 to 95 hours a week, sometimes 100. That's 2 full-time jobs plus a part-time job if you really want to, average it out. So how did I get through all that? How did I get to the end? I had to visualize myself doing it. I had to stop thinking about it. When my alarm would go off, I just had to get up and go. Some days I would look outside because depending on the position of the sun, I would know what day it was pretty much. I would know if I needed to get up to get ready for class, if it was early in the morning, or if the sun was about to set and I was waking up, I was like, okay, it's almost time for me to go back into work. It's almost night. And I really had to see myself getting through that. That was the only way I could, really do it. So you got to train your mind, body, and spirit to align with itself by visualizing. You got to tell the mind can't differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. And then a good test that I actually did when I was in high school was one of my teachers had us close our eyes to kind of visualize this. Believe it or not, visualize. And he said, okay, just imagine yourself walking into your kitchen and your home. Imagine yourself opening the refrigerator. Imagine yourself pulling out a lemon and taking a knife. And you cut that lemon in half. And then you bite into one half of it. And immediately we all scrunched up because we could taste that sourness of the lemon because of the fact that we were visualizing it. To the mind, it was actually happening. So I was telling you before about the Olympic athletes trained or learning how to visualize themselves getting through the pain and getting through their routine. Another one, of course, is playing an audition or orchestra audition. You got to visualize yourself walking out onto that stage. You have to visualize the audience out or whoever's on that committee listening to you. And you got to visualize yourself playing from beginning to end flawlessly without a single mistake. Because the reality is in orchestra auditions, even if they don't like your sound, they can cut off your audition at the end and you're done. They can say, oh, you're done after phrasing a phrase a certain way. And if you play one wrong note, one wrong rhythm, it's over. So how do you train your mind to get through that point when you're actually on stage playing for real and playing for the actual audition? You visualize yourself doing it. So right here, what we're seeing is everything you can do and then everything you can do today. We all have the ability to make these huge structures that you see here and to make these great things happen. But you can't do it all in one day. You got to do it step by step. And the first step in manifesting, like I said, was dreaming big. And of course, visualizing yourself doing it, doing one brick at a time until you have the whole structure completed. So what's step number 4? Well, like I said, it was taking massive action towards the things that you're visualizing, moving towards it each day. And the 5th step, I would say, is the most important one. The 5th step is to never give up. So many of us give up on our dreams when we're so close to having them. We're one interview away from having that job. We were one audition away from winning that seat in the orchestra. We were one conversation away from asking that person out that we wanted to. And never give up. There's a couple of stories I wanted to share with you that I came through. The first one was I was listening to an interview with Tyler Perry. We all know who Tyler Perry is. He makes a lot of movies. He makes a lot of funny movies. And in his book, Higher is Waiting, there's a chapter called Dig Deeper. And the situation was he was getting these really high water bills on his property, and he wanted to build a well. So he wouldn't have to pay these ridiculously high water bills. So what do? He hired some diggers to come out to his company and to dig that well. Well, they came out the first time and they drilled and drilled and drilled, and nothing happened. And he said, you know what, it's okay. I'm just going to go back to doing what I was doing. Maybe it's not meant to be. Then he got another water bill and he said, now I'm coming back. So they came out the first time, nothing happened. And then they came again, and he just said, keep digging. Just keep digging. So what they do, they kept digging. And the deeper they got in, they figured out what before that, maybe there is no water here. Maybe we were just digging in vain. And Tyler Perry just told him, just keep digging. You're going to find some water. Just keep digging. So Tyler was ready to give up. But they dug 4 more inches, and guess what happened? They found an underwater stream that still waters that property to today. So just imagine that, 4 more inches away. If they had given up, he had another water bill coming in now. I was reading the story or reading the book Think and Grow Rich, which I highly recommend that everyone, if you haven't already, you get into it, because there's a section in one of the chapters that talks about gold mining. And back in the day when gold mining was a thing, everyone flocked out to try to mine gold. They were trying to make it rich. And there was this one company that went in and they started mining for the gold, and they kept going and kept going and kept going. And kind of like the Tyler story, they couldn't find it. So they almost gave up. Actually, they did give up. They gave up and sold their equipment to a junk collector, pretty much. And what did the junk collector do? He said, I'm going to go back into that same hole, to that same mine, and I'm going to keep going. And guess what happened? Not even 3 feet later, 3 feet later, they found riches beyond imaginable. If that first company had just kept going, just 3 more inches, or 3 more feet, I should say, they would have been, completely wealthy. And we get into these ideas in our head that let me show you a picture for that. That it's impossible, it's never going to happen, and we end up giving up, which is the worst thing that we can do. Giving up on your dreams, it's hard. It's hard to do because you have to live with the reality of what you did give up, what you didn't go after, and it's going to haunt you for the rest of your life. So instead of giving up, just come up with new strategies and say, okay, let's see what went right. Because our intentions always go to the negative, to everything that's wrong. Well, let's look at what we did right. What went well? What was okay? What should we go back and revisit? The second part of this is I want to talk to you about what's called the Reticular Activating System. And I know this picture is kind of blurry. I apologize for that. I thought I had a better one. But I'm going to talk you through this anyway. So what the Reticular Activating System is imagine that on your head, you have a huge net, like a hairnet. And in this hairnet is a bunch of lights that lights up. Looks like neurons. And what its job is to let and then the job of this hairnet is kind of like a bouncer, and your head is the most exclusive club in town. This bouncer is in charge of only letting things in that's important to you, or that you deem is important to you. The reticular activation system, what it does is whenever you declare that you want something, it goes out and it's fine, and it's you're telling your mind pretty much, this is what I want to see. And it goes out and it finds those things for you. A good example of that is, have you ever wanted an outfit, and you finally decided on an outfit that you wanted, and then the next thing you know, everybody has that same outfit on. It's a very popular thing. Even more relatable, what about a car? You finally decided you wanted that car that you wanted, and you go out and you get it, and then next thing you know, everybody and their brother has that same car as well. It's because of the fact that the reticular activating system is telling your mind that this is what you want. So when we say negative things to ourselves, and we're constantly in woe of what's going on, we're telling our mind to constantly look for those things. Constantly look for things that we screw up. Constantly look for those things that that holds us back. And guess what happens? We see just those things. The flip side of that is positive affirmations. That's why it's so important. Tell yourself positive affirmations every day, throughout the day. And your mind will go to work to see how it's happening, or to make those things come to pass and make you see that those things are really there. I know Mel Robbins talks about finding hearts. She said what you need to do is a game that you play with yourself. You go out and you find a naturally shaped heart. It could be in a cloud, it could be in a rock, it could be in a formation, but something naturally shaped. Because you're telling your mind that that is exactly what you want, is that's exactly what you're looking for. And then your mind goes to work to find it for you. I know for me, I always imagine and I always visualize, having true success. I always see myself on stage talking to people. I see myself on this podcast talking to you every week. I visualize myself, getting those clients that I want to get for my finance business. And guess what happens every single week? I look for evidence of those things happening. When I write down in my journal, today is a great day. I expect great things to happen today. I will see evidence throughout the day of greatness. My mind goes to work, and guess what happens? I see it all the time. And it's funny, I'm start sharing my screen so I can get back to you. I have this alarm in my phone that I use every day at 2:40. At 2:40 p.m. every single day, alarm goes off, and I have to state 3 things that's going right that day. And every single day, I scrounge around because I have like 4 or 5 or 6, and I try to break it down to the 3. But at least 3 things that's going right. And when you get in the habit of doing that, when you get in the habit of seeing what's going right and what's going well, then the universe will hear and answer that call. And it will give you more things going well. And it give you more instances of things going well. So I urge us this week to, use manifesting. Manifest the life that you want, the life that you desire, and do it through positive thoughts, positive words, positive actions. And I guarantee you, step by step, little by little, you'll see a new life. Thank you for joining me today. Thanks for joining me all the way through the end of this podcast. And then just to let you know that while we're learning, we're living in a world of podcasting, this episode will, begin to get longer and begin to increase. So I want to end with this as well. The highest consciousness of me believes in the highest consciousness of you. I believe in you. You are capable. You can have a better life. You can have a happy life, a successful life. You just got to do it day by day, a little bit by a little bit. Take massive action. If you have any suggestions for future shows, or if there's anything that you'd like to know about in more detail, please write into the Positively Living Podcast at outlook.com. You can also find us on Instagram or X, formerly known as Twitter. This podcast was created to offer advice for living a happier life. If you feel that you're in the state that you need serious help, I strongly encourage you to speak with a properly trained professional immediately. And one more thing, the Positively Living Podcast is currently sponsored by IMP Solutions, your one-stop shop for all your financial needs. Thank you.